Hi there, Kim Carter here. It's late at night. I should be going to bed. I'm not feeling super well. So clearly this is the perfect time to record an episode of Babblicious, right? Makes perfect sense. I don't know why I'm doing this. I may not publish this anywhere. I guess we'll see. But I've been wanting to get this one off my chest for a while, so let's just wing it and see what happens. Today's episode is Why I Love Hurt Comfort. So, for the uninitiated, hurt comfort is a genre or perhaps a subgenre of media. You can find it in television, movies, written word, you can find it anywhere. And it is pretty much exactly as advertised. Hurt comfort, as in one character is hurt and another comforts them. Sounds pretty basic, right? I mean, probably anything you've ever watched or read has hurt comfort in it somewhere. Except maybe sitcoms, and even those have it from time to time, depending on what you're watching. And I'm sure you've noticed through these episodes of Babblicious and in my own work that I love it. I am probably pretty obsessed with it. It shows up everywhere for me. I'm always seeking it out. And that probably sounds like something that came up during my fangirl heyday teenage years, but it's actually not. I've been this way for as long as I can remember, since I was a child. And when I was in college, I was doing this one-on-one writing course with a lovely professor who has since passed away, and he basically was just encouraging me to write whatever was on my damn mind. But it kept coming back to these themes over and over again. And at that point, I was just like, why? Why am I obsessed with this? Why does this theme keep coming back? Why can I not get rid of it? Why am I always seeking it out? Why does it give me butterflies? Why does it make me feel warm and cozy? Why do I always want it? In almost every single thing I have ever written, unless it was a specific assignment or commission for someone else, there is hurt comfort in it. Now, the thing is, I'm sure we all have things like this, like things we just like. And sometimes there just isn't a reason. You just like what you like. I'm a very firm believer that that is the case with kinks. Your kinks are your kinks, and you have no control over that. I don't think I have any conscious control over this at this point, and so I just kind of roll with it. But I did do some digging and some soul searching, and in my case, I went and found my answer as to why I love hurt comfort. So before we get to the deep stuff, let me just say, this is an incredibly popular genre. It is in so much fan fiction. It is in regular fiction. It is everywhere. Because I think people like it. They like seeing the vulnerability, and they like knowing that somebody is going to be there to tell you that everything is going to be okay. That's incredibly comforting to hear on many levels. Certainly in the fandom world, it's probably a little bit bigger simply because it's recognized and tagged separately. I mean, not separately, but, well, because fandom works have a tagging system, as do audio works for the most part as well, right? When you see things posted on Reddit, it's Tag City. And I think that it's great that it's now being, at least in those circles, being called out and pointed out separately so that it can be embraced. I think that's a great thing. Certainly makes it easier for me to find it. So that's my own selfish reasoning there. And some pairings in particular are just perfect for it. For example, one that I wish I had even discovered sooner than I did, is in Star Trek. And you can either look at the original series or the alternate original series, the 2009 movies. Jim and Bones, oh, that is a ship made in hurt comfort heaven, with an accident-prone, crazy off the rails Jim always getting injured and Bones always there to patch him up. It doesn't get more perfect than that, in my opinion, for a hurt comfort pair. Absolutely perfect. So, I'm going to warn you now, this is going to get a little bit personal. I'm going to talk about some family stuff, and that may be triggering for some people, so if you want to stop listening now, that's fine. Just going to talk a little bit about dysfunctional upbringing and maybe a little bit of neglect, so emotional neglect. So if that's triggering for you, feel free to sign off now, and I'll see you later. And if you're going to stick with me, thanks. Thanks for listening and letting me get this off my chest. So, why hurt comfort? And when I say that I have been obsessed with this since the time I was a child, that's because I know exactly what it started with. And I know that I believe in my episode on ASMR roleplay, I talked some about falling in love with voices. Actually, I don't think I specifically... maybe I mentioned some of these? Anyway, okay. There were 2 movies in particular that I watched as a child that affected me very, very deeply. The first one of those was the 1980 version of Return of the King, animated. And if you go back and watch it now, it is incredibly cheesy and has this music that I'm sure sounds very jangly and out of time to all of you. But to me, it was so precious. And I started watching that probably when I was about 5 or 6 years old. So I have always known the story of Lord of the Rings, and that's kind of a cool way to be, honestly. The other movie that I'm going to lump in with this is Don Bluth's beautiful film, The Secret of Nim, based on Mrs. Frisbee and the Rats of Nim. I have actually never read that book. I should do that someday. Anyway, so I had these 2 movies that I was absolutely obsessed with, and trying to think which way around I want to tell this story. Do I want to tell you? Yeah, okay, I'm going to tell you what I was looking for first. So the thing is that I was raised in a household on conditional love. That it always felt like I had to perform and be perfect and never make mistakes in order to be loved. That was the only love that I knew. Which is fascinating because even though that was the only love I knew in my family, I knew that there was another kind of love out there. I don't know if I perhaps saw that, if it was simply through the media I watched, or if it was watching other families and other kids. I'm not really sure. But I knew there was something else, and I knew that I wanted it. But I didn't really understand it. I didn't know what it might look like. What unconditional love looked like and felt like. So my little 5 to 6-year-old brain was watching those 2 movies a lot. And for some reason, latched onto them. There is a scene in Return of the King where Sam rescues Frodo from the orcs, from Carathungal. Also, the pronunciation is wrong in the 1980 version, so I'm correcting it now. Anyway, that scene where he rescues him, like this is almost the bottom of Frodo's journey, right? He's lost the ring. He's been beaten to hell, tortured, whipped. Like, he is just like face down on the floor, a mess. Sam comes in and just loves on him. He cradles him in his arms, and suddenly everything is going to be okay. I have gone and read that passage in the book is just as beautiful as it is portrayed in this film. They did not spend so much time on it in the Peter Jackson version, which I was kind of sad about, but, they made up for it at other points, I guess. But that moment, I don't know what it was about that moment that, in a way, Frodo had screwed up, right? I mean, in that particular version of that movie, you don't have a real full grasp of what had happened, but you get the idea that Frodo had made mistakes. And Sam loves him anyway. Kisses him, cries over him. And however you want to interpret that love, I don't really care. I think all three possible variations of that are valid. Whether you want to see that as friendly love, as brotherly love, or romantic love, I think all three are equally valid in my opinion. It doesn't matter for what we're talking about because in any case, it is unconditional love. You gotta love somebody unconditionally to risk your life and slay orcs and rescue them, right? All while carrying a cursed ring. That's a pretty big demonstration of love right there. And it was unconditional love, so my little 5 or 6-year-old brain latched onto that and pointed at that and was like, that is unconditional love. That is what I want. I don't know why exactly my little brain focused on the hurt comfort aspect of that, but it did. And I can never undo that powerful connection. The same thing in The Secret of Nim, there's a scene where Mrs. Brisby is taking care of her son, Timothy, who is sick in bed, and she goes and feeds him soup. And I just thought that was beautiful. And I was like, that's what a mother's unconditional love looks like. But somehow, in my mind, those two things got tangled together. The unconditional love and the hurt comfort. And that's what I grasped onto. And that's what I went searching for wherever I could find it. And when I couldn't find it, I wrote it myself. And I dreamed about it. And just never let go of it. Because I knew I didn't have it. And that was my way of substituting for it. Luckily, I do have people in my life who love me unconditionally. From age 10 onward, I started building my own family of friends who love me. But, growing up is hard, and there were a lot of ups and downs during that time. Certainly now our relationship is rock solid. I've been married for 11 years, and my wedding party, we are all still friends. I know that's not always the case. They're my family. I love them, and they love me, and my husband loves me unconditionally too. But I think we all know that childhood wounds run deep, and I don't think that can ever truly be healed. And maybe it's a poor excuse, and maybe it's stupid that hurt comfort is my way of trying to fill that hole for that kind of love that was missing when I was little. But I think it's a little late for me to stop now. It works. And with the other love in my life, I think it's going to have to be good enough. I think it will be good enough. There is a lot of love in my life. Maybe I just found a shortcut. Maybe I found a bypass. I found some little cheat code that helped me survive. That made me think. That helped me know that eventually there would be someone out there, no matter how much I screwed up, they were going to love me anyway. And it would be unconditional. This probably isn't the answer you were thinking you were going to get today or what I was going to talk about. Because sometimes, truthfully, I feel silly with how obsessed with her comfort I am. So, although I don't have to justify it to anyone, I just wanted to put out there that in my case, there's actually a deep reason and connection, a little pathway in my brain. And they say, when you use that connection over and over again over time, it only gets stronger. So that hurt, comfort to unconditional love connection in my brain is super strong and always will be. And if you have experienced this in your life with people who didn't love you unconditionally, and whether those conditions were you performing the right way or being a certain kind of person, acting a certain way, dressing a certain way, I just want you to know that you deserve better. There are people out there that are going to love you unconditionally, and you don't have to get injured first to receive it. And don't settle for less than that, because you are worthy of it. You are worthy of being loved unconditionally, and I am too. And as convoluted as it may seem, I think that hurt comfort helped me to realize that. So don't settle. Don't settle for friends that you have to censor yourself around. Don't put up with family that snipes at you and belittles you. Go out there and find unconditional love, because you're worth it. And if you listened to this whole thing, thanks for hearing me out and putting up with my late night ramblings. And I'm really glad that you're here. And I promise the next time I will talk about something, that I will talk about something and babble about something that's a little lighter than that. So thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.